Imagine a story that begins with a man, once a towering figure, now reduced to a mere shadow, writing his will in a foreign land, far from the halls of power and the lands he once ruled. This is not just any man, but Enguerrand, and the seventh, Sire de Coucy, a nobleman whose life was a tapestry of chivalry, politics, and war. His story, woven with threads of bravery and tragedy, unfolds in the late 14th century, a time of great upheaval and change. On February 16, 1397, in the city of Brusa, Turkey, Enguerrand, and the seventh, Sire de Coucy, sat down to write his last will and testament. He was not in the comfort of his own castle, but in a prison, a far cry from the grandeur he was used to. This was no ordinary will. It was a testament to a life lived in service to his king, his country, and his faith. Enguerrand was a man of the Middle Ages, a time when chivalry and religious devotion were at the heart of noble life. His will reflected these values, detailing his wishes for his burial and the distribution of his wealth. Enguerrand's life had been one of great highs and lows. He was a prominent French noble, known for his military prowess and diplomatic skills. He had married into the English royal family, making him a key player in the complex politics of the time. However, his fortunes changed dramatically after the disastrous Battle of Nicopolis in 1396, where he was captured by the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid I. This defeat was a significant blow to Christian forces, and marked a turning point in the relationship between the Christian powers and the advancing Ottoman Empire. The news of Enguerrand's capture and imprisonment spread throughout Europe, causing concern among the Christian nobility. His captivity was a symbol of the vulnerability of the Christian world in the face of the Ottoman threat. The Christian powers of the Aegean, particularly the Genoese lord of Mytilene, Francesco Gattilusio, took it upon themselves to secure Enguerrand's release. Gattilusio, a man of influence, provided provisional liberty for Enguerrand, allowing him to be moved to better quarters and ensuring his well-being in his final days. In his will, Enguerrand showed a deep concern for his soul and the welfare of his family. He directed that his body be buried in France, specifically at Nogent, and his heart at his foundation of Stee, Trinité in Soissons. This attention to the disposal of his physical remains was typical of the medieval mindset, where the body was seen as a vessel for the soul, and its proper burial was crucial for salvation. Enguerrand also made generous bequests to various churches and monasteries, including Notre Dame de Chartres, where he believed a miracle had occurred. Enguerrand's will also reflected his sense of responsibility and duty. He instructed his executors to distribute funds to the poor, and to ensure that his debts were paid. He named trusted friends and colleagues, such as Geoffrey Maupoiver and Jacques Damans, as his executors, and requested that the King of France hold his lands to ensure the fulfillment of his legacies. These provisions showed that even in his final moments, Enguerrand remained a man of integrity and honor. 2 days after writing his will, on February 18, 1397, Enguerrand the seventh died in Brusa. His death was a significant loss to the French nobility and the Christian world. He was a man who embodied the ideals of the Middle Ages: chivalry, piety, and responsibility. Unlike many of his contemporaries, who were often characterized by their brutality and venality, Enguerrand was known for his steadiness and sagacity. He had the respect and trust of his peers, and was a model of noble leadership. Enguerrand's death was not immediately known in Paris, and it took 2 months for the news to reach there. His wife, the Dame de Coucy, was devastated by the loss, and vowed never to marry again. A grand funeral was held, and his body or bones was buried at Nogent, while his heart was placed at Stee, Trinité. The poet Deschamps wrote a dirge in his honor, lamenting the loss of a great nobleman who had served his king and country with distinction. The fate of the other prisoners captured at Nicopolis was also a matter of concern. Ransom negotiations were prolonged and complex, involving the Duke of Burgundy and the Sultan of the Ottomans. The Duke's chief purveyor and banker, Dino Rapondi, played a crucial role in raising the necessary funds. The ransom was set at 200,000 ducats, a staggering sum that required the mobilization of the entire banking network. The Knights of Rhodes and the King of Cyprus also contributed to the effort, and the Seigneur of Mytilene, Francesco Gattilusio, provided a significant portion of the ransom. The prisoners were finally released on June 24, 1397, but the journey back to France was long and arduous. They stopped at various islands to rest and recover, and the Duke of Burgundy ensured that his son, Jean de Nevers, returned in style, despite the financial strain. The Duke's efforts to maintain his son's dignity and the family's prestige were typical of the nobility of the time, where appearances and status were paramount. The return of the prisoners was met with a mix of celebration and solemnity. In Dijon, Jean de Nevers was received with great fanfare, and he even liberated prisoners from the city jail as a gesture of goodwill. However, the celebrations were tinged with the memory of those who did not return, and the towns that welcomed the survivors were eager to receive the favors and benefits that often accompanied such grand events. Enguerrand and the Seventh's life and death serve as a poignant reminder of the complexities of the Middle Ages. He was a man who lived and died by the values of his time, a time when the world was changing rapidly, and the old order was giving way to new challenges and opportunities. His story is a testament to the enduring human spirit, even in the face of adversity and loss.